Oh, Tammy Abraham. We are here to have a transfer special and talk about the arrival of Tammy Abraham and the imminent rival of Douglas Luiz. Shall we get into it, lads?
Let's do it.
Welcome back to the latest episode of B6 and Beyond. You are here with me, Matt and Corey, to discuss the returning just Villa players of our past that we all loved and adored. Before we do get into it, I just want to remind you all we do have an ongoing giveaway for either match tickets or a shirt of your choice, all that you need to do. And you know what, actually, surely this is the best time to do it. You can get a new shirt with either Tammy or Douglas Luiz on it. So smash that subscribe button to make sure to qualify for it. We give away that every 500 subs, and we are getting close to the next one, so don't miss out. Right, who should we start with? I think maybe Tammy Abraham, because that's the one that's actually confirmed and actually signed on the dotted line and announced. Matt, I'll go to you. How do you feel, mate?
Mate, the video that Villa put out of saying, like, don't fall in love with a lone player, and Tammy's first interview, I am feeling very positive about the move. There's a hint of, obviously, nostalgia, and if I'm being brutally honest, with some of the strikers we have been linked with this window, he wasn't number one for me personally. Omar Marmoush would have probably been number one, but that looked like it was always going to be maybe a little bit far-fetched. But Tammy was right up there, and the fact he's come back, he obviously knows the club. He knows quite a lot of the boys that are still there. He came up with some of them, McGinn, Mings, obviously knows Watkins through the England setup and things like that. If Emery wants a player, I will back it to the hill, because this man has done he's done absolutely everything he can with quite a reduced squad. And if Emery wants Tammy, then I want Tammy. And he will fit the system. I think he'll fit the system more than Donyell Marlin, who obviously was sold. And I can't wait to see him back in claret and blue, mate. I'm absolutely buzzing.
Yeah, I think most Villa fans echo that sort of sentiment about Tammy Abraham. Look, he was, we've all got very special memories of him when we was in the Championship. But I think you've just said mentioned about the profile. He was a completely different profile to Donyell Marlin. And I think for me, the big thing to mention here is he's not coming here to sit on the bench. He's not coming here to play second fiddle to Ollie Watkins. This is a big move for Tammy, and it's a big opportunity for him. He knows if he comes to Villa and he hits the ground running, there's a couple of things, a couple of angles that we need to look at this. First of all, the club are going to look to move on Ollie Watkins in the summer. I personally believe, because he's getting to the age now. He's 30 years old, high earner, 150k a week or whatever it is Ollie Watkins is on, and realistically he's not going to improve. He's just going to start to peter down the tier now, Ollie Watkins. So Tammy's only 28 years old, so next year we're going to be looking for potentially a new striker to play the number one striker at Aston Villa. If Tammy has a good end to the season here, what's to say Tammy doesn't become our first choice striker and we go and buy a younger model to play the apprentice, should we say, to Tammy Abraham. And then the second string to this bow is if he comes to the Premier League. Look, without a shadow of a doubt, England managers, when they are managing their national team, if they look for players to come to the side, they look at players in other leagues with a stain of shit on them. Fikayo Tomori being the prime example of this. He was absolutely brilliant for a long time with AC Milan and didn't get a sniff of playing for England. Tammy Abraham will have that same brand of shit on him wherever he was playing abroad. But now he's coming to England. If he starts bagging for Aston Villa in the Premier League, it could reopen rekindle his love with England, and he could go back to the England squad. Who knows? Because realistically, apart from Harry Kane and Ollie Watkins, the choices after that are very, very average, So why Ollie Watkins hasn't exactly been hitting the ground running this year. So if Tammy does come and smash it for us, he's got a lot of things to motivate him. I think this move could work for him massively. Corey, what's your opinion on the whole Tammy move?
Yeah, I completely agree. Like you said, Ben, about the England setup. I mean, I'm pretty sure the top performing English striker at the moment, outside of Harry Kane, is Keenan Davis in Italy. And again, he obviously a former Villa man, but he scored 2 yesterday. I think he's got something like 13 goals this season. But like you say, they're not going to even have a sniff at the England team with Keenan Davis because he's playing over in Italy, which obviously bemuses me. But I think the key with Tammy is, and which really fills me with confidence, is his interview coming back and saying, one, that Villa was one of only, realistically, it was either going to be Chelsea or Villa that he came back to England for. That's what he was trying to sort of hint at. But the fact that we're one of those clubs, and the fact that he said, obviously, he fell in love with the club the first time round, He's not come here just to be a bit part player and sort of say, "Oh, I play for Aston Villa again." He's come here to prove his love for Aston Villa and to score goals for us. And like you say, it's healthy competition. Watkins wants to go to the World Cup. Tammy will want to go to the World Cup. Them two are going to be trying to outscore each other, which only benefits us too. Obviously, they're going to work together as well because, like I said, if they get an assist for each other, that's going to help their case as well. So, for me, it was a no-brainer. Like I say, I mean, there was a few names that were sort of thrown around. Obviously, Mamouche would have been a great asset if we could have got him, but after that, there was no one else on. I mean, I've spoke to you guys offline about Mateta, and now I'm really not a massive fan of Mateta, and there's a reason he'll probably end up being at Forest playing by the end of the window because he's not good enough, simply put. He's worse than Watkins when it comes to finishing, and someone like Tammy Abraham comes in and he's a different character. He's a tall lad, he can score headers, he can find himself at the back post. He's a threat from set pieces now, which is something we need, and obviously with a man that we're going to mention being able to take set pieces as well, it's almost like a perfect link with. And him and Jadon Sancho growing up together have always had that sort of connection.
I know you mentioned set pieces there, but another one that's a good one to mention is he can score a penalty, which is something we haven't had for I think since Anwar Al Ghazi left the football club, the king of penalties, or Douglas Luiz. Douglas Luiz took six and scored 5, I believe it was. He's got like a very good ratio, but. Yeah, I'm really happy with it, and I think you just mentioned his height as well. That's one thing that we're not massively blessed with in certain areas. I do think we sometimes do need that little bit of added height and physicality, and I think it'll work. Well, I hope it'll work because I'm a big Tammy Abraham fan. I could probably eat my words massively with that, but yeah, right. So the next one, which come very very sudden at us, the news kind of broke last night and it's just sped up to this morning, and I'd imagine it'd probably be getting announced, you would imagine, by tomorrow, the way it's because it's apparently he's done. It's been given the old Fabrizio Romano green light, rubber stamped, here we go, but he gets them wrong, doesn't he? And that is the return of Douglas Luiz to Aston Villa Football Club. Personally, I've done my piece on this on social media, but I'll go over it again. I'm absolutely over the moon to see Douglas Luiz return back to Aston Villa. Like, look, with the window that we were shopping in, the players that were available, it makes absolutely every bit of sense to bring Dougie in. The player that he comes, he's the one that's main injury. Obviously Kamara's out, but now Tielemans is out, and what better player to bring in to replace Tielemans in the squad? Somebody already knows the system, knows how we play, knows the demands of Unai Emery, knows what to expect. A ball progressor, which is what Yuri Tielemans is. Then Douglas Luiz, that pass away at Sheffield United, it's like a burning memory in my brain that I'll never forget. I think that is the best pass I've ever seen from a Aston Villa footballer, and his set piece delivery. Like I don't think we've replaced that since he's gone. I don't think we've got some good set piece takers, but his delivery is probably the best delivery I've ever seen. He's phenomenal. There's a reason why Arsenal was sniffing for him for years. Sadly, we had to let go of him because of PSR reasons, and I know obviously there's the concerns about what was said in the Guillaume Balaguer book about he had reached his peak and he got to the end of his tether at Aston Villa. Unai Emery's took him as far as he could, but look, I think we're in a position where it's needs must at the moment. Cory, do you want to give your thoughts on the old Dougie Luiz return?
Yeah, of course. I'm in a similar boat to you, Ben. And I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to start any unwanted beef. But there's a lot of Villa fans that I've seen moaning about it, saying he's not the same player. It's like, give over. It doesn't matter that he's not the same player. For what we need at this moment in time, we need someone who's going to come in. I spoke to you offline, but I said, you look at Jadon Sancho, he's taken months to get up to the system. You look at Tielemans, he took months to get into the Villa system. He wasn't starting games when he first joined. You look at Onana, how long it's taken him to get into the system. We needed someone to come in and fill that void where Tielemans, McGinn, Kamara is. So why would you not go for someone who's done it before? What's the point in going out and signing a Basuma who might take 2 months to adapt to Unai Emery's system? And then by that point, you've got Kamara back, and it's just like, well, you've had this lad to fill a space for 2 months who doesn't know what they're doing. And another thing that I think is worth pointing out, everyone goes, oh, well, when Douglas Luiz wasn't playing next to Kamara, he struggled. Yes, because Douglas Luiz was having to fill in where Kamara's role was, and Tielemans was playing his role. Douglas Luiz is coming to play Tielemans' role. Onana's there to play Kamara's role. It's not the other way around. Douglas Luiz isn't in here to play as a number 6. Even if Onana, touch wood, does an Onana, Bogard would fill in for Kamara's role. and then Douglas Luiz would do Tielemans' role. That's where Douglas Luiz is, and like you say, he loves the club. He's another one like Tammy Abraham. He's coming back for the club. He'll do everything for the club, and I think because of that sort of Olympiacos game, he's got a lot to prove in terms of he'll want to win a trophy with Villa, and what better way to do it than obviously lifting the Europa League.
I like the way you've now referred to it as Onana, doing an Onana. Is that what it's called now? Do you know what really annoys me?
I didn't want to say the word out loud. I didn't want to put it into the atmosphere.
Yeah, let's not. The one thing that annoys me is the comment you just made about, like, you know, people saying that he's not the same player that he was. Like, you don't lose your footballing ability. You don't lose the ability how to play football. And if you don't trust any manager in world football to get the best out of an underperforming player, surely it's Unai Emery. Does anyone not remember what he did to Marcus Rashford last season? The same Marcus Rashford that went on then get a move to Barcelona. Yeah, good one. Matt, on to you, mate. What's your thought?
Now I'm absolutely buzzing with it. I think it's a very shrewd bit of business. We sold Luiz. We got Yuri Tielemans in. Tielemans is injured. Who have we replaced Yuri Tielemans with? Back with Douglas Luiz. Perfect. The man knows the system. He knows the club. He loves the club. There's that famous video where he's playing FIFA on Twitch or whatever, and he's like, I miss Aston Villa, guys. I miss Villa Park. He's back. Like you just said as well, Corey, there's no 2 or 3 month embedding like if it was Basuma. He knows the system. He knows the manager. He knows all the lads. He loves Villa. He's got a connection to the club. I think it's a great bit of business, and again, putting nostalgia to one side, I do think he is a top footballer. You've touched on it, Ben, some of the balls he delivered in his final season, his output as well. I think he was our highest goal scorer the 1 year where he got player of the season as well. Well, definitely in midfield he was. He was just banging them left, right and centre. With Tammy's height and his corner delivery as well, it could be a big problem. I'm very, very happy to see him come in, and hopefully, you know, if Tielemans and McGinn are back in 6 or 8 weeks, when we have the proper run in, if we have an option of midfield with Tielemans, McGinn, Luiz, Kamara's obviously done, Bogard, Barkley's coming back. We have got. You could even play Watkins out left in the 3 of the 1 behind the striker and play Tammy up top, because Watkins drifted out left for a lot of the Newcastle game. There's options, and these 2 players come in, actually expand the squad more than just 2 players on paper. It allows us to change the systems and adapt and maybe strengthen in terms of where we're pushing out Watkins in the attacking area, allows Tammy as opposed to makeshifting some of the people who would often sit a little bit deeper. I think it's really, really good, mate. I'm buzzing.
Yeah, it's clever. You know what, you make a really good point there. Let's be honest, like Tielemans and John McGinn, they're not dead. You know, they're going to come back. It's just unfortunate, and it's come at a time where it's 6 to 8 weeks, and it's come at a really important time for the football club. Obviously, with the Europa League game that we've got coming up this week, we can kind of write that off. If we win, we win. If we don't, we don't with the squad. But you know, it's more so the Premier League run. This is where we really realistically need. And look, I'm not saying that writing us off down the line that we're not going to go to beat Chelsea at home. We're not going to go to Old Trafford and get a result. We're not going to go to Man City and get a result. We're not going to beat Liverpool at home, because we are more than capable to do so, and we've proved it time and time again this year that we are capable of getting results against these teams. But this month we've got a lot of favourable fixtures where realistically we probably need another 6 wins to secure Champions League football for next season, and realistically if we can go and get the majority of them this month, then it would be ease our running towards the end of the season. So do you think we need any more reinforcement, lads? Because I still feel we are maybe a little bit short.
I would still like Ruben Loftus-Cheek through the door, who's been linked with, or just another midfielder in that position or in that pocket. Just going back to Corey's, if Onana does an Onana, which is not out the realms of possibility, then we're back to square one in a sense. You could have Kamara, McGinn, Tielemans, and Onana all out at the same time, which would be catastrophic. So I would like another centre mid, and I would like Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I think he's quite a Unai profile. He's big, physical. He's not too dissimilar to Onana in terms of stature. English lad, obviously used to play with Tammy at Chelsea. I think it'd be quite an easy one to embed into the squad. So I think Ruben would probably be top of my realistic shopping list with the players we've been linked with. But
I really like that, Matt. Yeah, I like that, mate. That's a good shout. Corey?
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing, and I think even if it does take Loftus-Cheek a bit of time to get used to it, that's why Douglas Luiz is there. That's that thing of he should be able to jump straight back into it as a system player, and then it does give Loftus-Cheek a bit more leniency to say, listen, we know that you're new to the squad, try and get used to it. That sort of thing. I completely agree. I think the midfield role is something where, because listen, at the end of the day, yes, obviously we're going to have players back in 8 weeks' time, but we know what injuries are like. Tielemans at the start of the season was meant to be out for 6 weeks or something, and then when he was finally getting back to fitness, something came up and he missed another 3-4 weeks after that. So just because it is that time, it's a minimum of that time. That's something that we need to remember is these players, touch wood, they're not, but they could be out for a bit longer, which we don't want. So having players there that are just going to be able to sort of get us across the line, and with the likes of the FA Cup and Europa League games being there, the last thing we want is going into those games saying, right, well, Onana's going to have to play FA Cup and Europa League games because we haven't got the players to sort of facilitate that, and then they go and pick up a knock in those games, which become more pointless, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. You know, obviously we've got a stacked fixture list, so I don't really see us doing any other business other than potentially another centre mid, as we've just discussed. But never say never with Aston Villa. Like, look, I didn't think we'd go and sign Rashford in a sense. I knew we needed players last year, but the club just do seem to surprise us a lot and do things out of the ordinary sometimes. And they will be planning left, right and centre of what certain possibilities look like. And the club have always said, look at the Conor Gallagher deal that never materialised, which could have materialised. They'll always... And you know what? Like, spare a prayer for him, because he he could have been playing every minute for us right now. Instead, he decided to go to struggling, relegation battle with Tottenham Hotspur. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is basically, if an opportunity presented itself for a player, the club have always said we will be open to potentially going in and doing some sort of business if the right opportunity presented itself, which is neither here or there in January. That does happen. But the next bit I want to really talk about is, do either of you see anyone potentially leaving the football club? I mentioned offline to Corey, potentially Evan Gesson could exit, but I don't know if that's me wishful thinking.
I don't see him going this January, mate, considering we spent 20 plus million on him 5 months ago, unless it was really desperate to balance the books out. But I think he'd been part of a deal either for Tammy or Jean-Philippe Mateta that we've touched on, but doesn't look like, obviously he's not going to be part of the Tammy deal. Doesn't look like we'll go for Jean-Philippe Mateta. Now we've got Tammy. So I don't see Evan Gesson going anywhere in January, maybe in summer. Just to very quickly loop back as well to the midfield conversation, do we think we see more of Harvey Elliott now or not because of the injuries?
We spoke about this one briefly, but I think the big thing is whether we can negotiate that, the clause with Liverpool to be removed, because ultimately we've only got another 4 games which we can use him. We will use him for those 4 games 100%. But I think so me and Corey had a chat on our podcasts around the Salzburg game, which will be coming out in a bit. We've released this one before and we recorded that before, and we basically said, because Corey thought about, well, would he look at playing, featuring Harvey Elliott for some minutes, but if you've only got 4 games to play him, then surely you're going to want to play him when you are absolutely brassic and you need you're well up against it. I just hope that the club can somehow negotiate some sort of exit fee maybe, or something, just to be able to play him for the remainder of the season, because he's a good footballer, man. He's got a lot of ability, he can score you goals. If you need someone to come in and change a game, I think he's a better footballer than Buendia as technical ability, and people might hammer me for that comment, because I think Buendia is a good footballer. He grafts his arse off, but I think Harvey Elliott's ceiling's probably higher than Buendia's. It just hasn't worked from Aston Villa. That's my opinion. What's yours, Corey? What's your thoughts on the Harvey Elliott situation?
Yeah, I mean, listen, obviously it's a touchy subject in terms of we all wanted it to work from the get-go. Obviously, when me and you were doing sort of these podcasts at the start of the season, when we first started up this podcast, me and you both said Benny was one of our sort of dream signings, and with the limitations we knew in terms of being able to spend money, we knew it would be an option where we could get him in on loan, and it's a shame that it's ended up being this stupid 10-game clause that sort of cost him that. I completely agree as well. He is a better player than Buendia. I mean, he's 24 years old, 25 years old, so he's got 4 years on Buendia almost as well. He's not even reached his peak yet, and it's one of them where if we can get that clause released, like you say, it only benefits Liverpool because if we get the clause released and he ends up being a superstar for us, we'll pay him 35 million. If it doesn't come good, but he still has the odd performance where he's playing well, someone's going to come in and pay 25, 30 million for him because he is that sort of player that's a good player. I think one thing to touch on, sorry, just to go back to Gesson, is with the Gesson situation, I could see him going if someone like Mamouche became available. Obviously, it wouldn't be a swap deal with City because they're not going to want Gesson, but I think if we could get him out the door and get someone like Mamouche who can play across that sort of front four, then maybe that
I see. I know you mentioned to me earlier that Mamouche is potentially going to Fenerbahce because they don't have any financial rules over there, which annoys the shit out of me that we can't go and get a player like that because
well, that's
we're
a
not.
permanent deal as well.
Is it really?
30 million euros.
Bloody hell, that's a big loss for City. I'm sure they spent like 60, 70 million euros on him. I'm sure they did.
I think he was 70.
Yeah.
So I've just seen an article on Harvey Elliott, but it doesn't really give you much, to be honest. It said that Liverpool have reached a decision on him, but it doesn't really say a lot. So I was just going to try and relay that information here. Yeah, you are right though, mate. Like realistically, it doesn't benefit Liverpool, does it? Because ultimately, he's going to just sit on our bench and rot. And it's not really the greatest situation for him. It's not the greatest situation for Liverpool as a football club because ultimately his value is just going to, decrease. So surely the best thing for all parties is just say to Aston Villa, okay, you were going to sign him for 35 million. We've lost a year of his contract, so therefore he's going to be less. He's going to cost a club next year less money to sign him. So you have to pay £5 million right now, and then you can play him for the rest of the season. I think that would be fair. But the Villa could be cunts, and they could play proper hardball and be like, "Nah, fuck you. We're not playing that. We're just going to, leave it at that." And then Liverpool are again snookered. But I think one thing we need to just kind of realise if we're going to try and do some business with Liverpool in the future, we've completely burnt that bridge. There's no way they're going to do anything like this with us again. From what I've been reading, Liverpool feel quite burnt about a bit sore around the whole situation because ultimately their view on it is they bent over backwards to facilitate this deal for Harvey Elliott to come to us. Which realistically the deal doesn't really help us. It kind of shafted us in all fairness. I think it was a really poorly executed deal by the absolute fucking waste of time Monchi. I think I can say that his transfer dealings at Aston Villa weren't exactly swimming, weren't they? But anyway, we're neither here or there. Is there any other bits you want to talk about, lads, or we can wrap it up there? I think we've had a good old chinwag about the new boys. I think we can summarise that we're all excited and ecstatic. We're all over the moon to see the lads back at Villa Park.
I just want to mention one more thing about Douglas Luiz before we end. Those people who obviously said about him reaching his peak and that's why he left. His peak the season he left was player of the season with 10 goals. So if that's the peak and that's why he wasn't good enough and he can come into the team now and get another 10 goals, who cares?
He's also single again. And we know how dangerous a single Douglas Luiz is.
Got rid of that slag. Anyway.
He is only 45 minutes away from her again.
Yeah.
Well, it was closer to her at Nottingham anyway. She's at Leicester, isn't she? So it didn't really matter, to be honest.
True.
So
good lad. Go on, Douglas.
The one thing I will say about it again, just I feel like we was going to end it then, but I've got another bit to add to it now. Douglas, look. So if they're all fit, Kamara, Tielemans, Onana. Then after that, it's Barkley, Bogard, Hemmings. Douglas Luiz is better than Hemmings. Douglas Luiz is better than Bogard. Is Douglas Luiz better than Ross Barkley? It's very debatable. Probably yes. So Douglas Luiz goes here. So what you've done there is you've elevated your ceiling. You've got a player of very, very good level who, if they were all fit, he raises your floor. So if any of these drop out, naturally the drop isn't as steep. So surely it's not. I think some fans just like to have a whinge for the sake of having a whinge. I could be the one of the whiniest fuckers in the world at certain times, but I don't see any reason why this isn't a good signing for us, to be honest with you. And if Unai Emery wants it, you said it, Matt. If Unai Emery wants a player, you back it to the hill because he's, when he's wanted a player and he's gone out of his way to get a player, Pau Torres has worked. That's been. I know some people have got the reservations on Torres, but Torres has been a good signing. Onana, Unai Emery personally went to his house to convince Onana to come. People, including myself, were a bit on the fence about Onana last season, but I'll put my hands up now. Onana is a fantastic player. Keeps our fit, will go on to world-class status, and I'll stand by that. And there's multiple other players. Tielemans, another one. Unai Emery bent over backwards to get Tielemans to the club, and I'm probably missing someone there. But you're talking about all these players that Unai Emery has specifically wanted. He's choosing Douglas Luiz now. He's trying to get Douglas Luiz in. He's chose Tammy Abraham. He's the person that's taken us from 17th in the fucking Premier League, looking like we're going to go down under Steven Gerrard, to 3rd in the Premier League, looking like we could win a Premier League title. Trust the fucking man. Trust the process. Am I missing something?
Mate, if Emery wanted El Ghazi back, I'd accept it, because he works miracles with everyone. So yeah, like you said, Ben, trust the process. I'm sure all the Villa fans who are saying it's terrible will be celebrating the goal in the Holte End when Luiz whips it onto the top of Tammy's head next week.
If he tries to go and sign Yakuba Silla, I might be a bit worried. But yeah.
I think the thing is, as well, that people forget is, if he doesn't like, even if he's wanted the player and doesn't like him, he won't use him. Look at Disassi. He bought Disassi in, didn't fancy it. Gesson now. He's tried using Gesson. Yep. He doesn't like him. He stopped using him. It's the same with these players. If Douglas Luiz comes back and he isn't performing, he's not going to play. Simple as. Barkley will start ahead of him. Bogard will start. Unai Emery will pick the team based on how they perform. He's not just going to pick these players because, we wanted to sign them.
Exactly that, mate. You know, he just trust. Yeah, let's just summarise. I think we could go on about these bits over and over again and probably start repeating ourselves. But I think we're all quite in agreement. Trust Emery, trust the process. Ultimately, we're in a good position. We've gone on the right trajectory since Unai Emery's coming to the football club. And if Unai Emery wants these players, you get behind it. Personally, and from what the lads have just portrayed in this, this podcast, we're absolutely buzzing over the signings and can't wait to see Tammy put that Villa shirt on. That "Oh Tammy Tammy," when that is sung again at Villa Park, and when the Douglas Luiz Olay is sung again, he's going to hit like crack, and I cannot wait for it. Final one from me, Cory and Matt. Up the Villa.
Up the Villa.